Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Uncommon Commentators. I'm Antwane Willis. This is my co-host, Garrett Brown. We appreciate y'all for joining us like we always do on these Thursday evenings. But of course, can't do it without my main man, as always. How you doing, Garrett? You good, brother?
I'm all good, bro. Like I always say, it's almost the end of the week, so very excited for the weekend, and we definitely have a lot of things to talk about, but it's definitely going to be a good one tonight.
Of course, most definitely. Always love to give him a shout outs for sure. It's the return of the boy Wiley on the ones and twos. He was out of town when we had the man Jay Holloway step in for him as our producer on short notice. Just want to give another shout out to Jay for having the time to do so. Thank you again for even give. Most definitely. Wiley's always here and always on time, as you can see. And want to give a special shout out to Jay again for even having the time to step in like that. Thank you again for the opportunity to do this show, of course. Always love talking to you, boy. And yeah, again, like I said, shout out to the boy Wiley. Glad he made it home safe from his road trip. He's always driving everywhere, it seems, most definitely. You save a lot of money that way. I can see why he would want to. Most definitely. But thank you again for joining us for the latest episode of the Uncommon Commentators. And we have a great show that we're going to get to tonight for y'all. With the first topic, we were going to start off with one of the best players, if not the best player in the world. So it's always newsworthy to talk about him. We were going to talk about is Nikola Jokic a top 20 center in the history of the National Basketball Association. So right now, he is currently averaging 30 points. If you round up, it's 29.7 to be specific, 12.8 rebounds, and 10.2 assists on 57.5% field goal percentage. The field goal percentage, probably my favorite stat from Nikola's stat line. We know what he can do given his triple doubles and things of that nature, but his efficiency is always something to behold, in my opinion. He's currently 8th in the league for a few. He's one of the few players to be top 10 in all three facets. He's like in all scoring, rebounding, and assists, he's top 5, and in field goal percentage, he's ranked 8th. So that lets you know the quality season he's having all around. Of course, he can always improve as a defender, but I think at 30 years old, he's starting to do that, putting more muscle on his frame. Most definitely, being 6'11" to 284 pounds, I think he's really starting to learn how to move his weight around. He's always been good at that, especially being the main man, the franchise player in Denver with his scoring opportunities that he mainly gets because of his touches and his high usage rate, of course. But I think lately, he's even turned more of a corner. Just last game, he had a 60-point triple-double in a loss, unfortunately. It was a 1-point loss in a classic versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. I watched that game last night. That kept me up. It was pretty hard to go to sleep after that, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, it's 61 points. 10 rebounds and 10 assists. And just seeing that on paper, like to just if he had 60 points with five assists and 5 boards, like that'd be what it is. That'd still be a great game. That'd be like if SGA went off for 60 points. But to still bring home double-digit rebounds and double-digit assists, like that's truly remarkable. And at 30 years old, of course, he was born on February 19th, 1995. So just turned 30 this year. He's a young man, to be quite honest, looking in the grand scheme of it, especially with his skill set. I think he'll be able to really play at this high level until at least 35. And then I think 36, 37, that's when you'll see him start to, like I said, he's averaging like 30, 10, and 10 right now. So I think he'll start to average around like 36, 37 years old, probably like 16, 8, and 9. The assist won't go anywhere, and I think he'll always know how to rebound. I think his scoring will take a dip, but he relies on his jump shot a lot more than his athleticism and things of that nature, like other centers do, trying to bang down low and get offensive putbacks and things of that nature with their rebounds. So truly is a special player, as we do know. Drafted in the second round of the 2014 NBA draft. He was the 41st pick of that draft. Really shows you that as long as you're drafted, it doesn't matter. And honestly, even being drafted, it just gets you on to a team. We've seen undrafted players like, Malcolm Brogdon, who won Rookie of the Year. And I believe Sixth Man of the Year as well, have a good season, like a good career for himself. And most notably lately, Austin Reeves, who's been playing at an all-star level for the Los Angeles Angeles Lakers right now. He was undrafted, being picked up by the Lakers, and we see what he's doing right now, of course. And even coming in the second round, like Jokic did, obviously he's exceeded all expectations. He started to really show the skill level. In my opinion, because of course he was drafted in 2015. So in my opinion, it was around like the 18-19 season was when he really, really started to turn a corner. That was his first all-star selection that year, and he was averaging 20 points with 10 rebounds and 7 assists. Even the year before that, in 17-18, he was averaging 18 points and 10 rebounds and 6 assists at that point, and he was only 22 years old. So he's been a good player, to be quite honest. Denver, it's kind of crazy to see them get their franchise player in the 2014 draft out of the second round like that. And of course, before I pass it to you, Gary, to get your opinion on his legacy, just assessing where he's at in his career right now. Like I said, he's 30 years old, and as of right now, if he were to retire, he would be a Hall of Famer. He's one-time NBA champion, a Finals MVP, a 3-time NBA MVP regular season, of course. He could have been a 4-time, but of course, Joel Embiid took it the year that a lot of people thought Nikola could have took it as well. And he's a 7-time All-Star. He's a 4-time first-team All-NBA, 2-time second-team All-NBA, so 6-time All-NBA overall. He was a part of the All-Rookie first team out of the second round. So like I said, been a good player really from day one. He has showed the potential. So, and he was a 4-time Serbian Player of the Year. So, obviously an international superstar, gracing the floor every night that we are blessed to watch. And like I mentioned, his stats, what he's averaging right now. So it's just the Joker. It's Jokic. Obviously, he's one of the best centers, definitely in the league right now, if not the best, to be quite honest. And like how I said it at the beginning of this breakdown, we are assessing where he ranks among all-time centers. Now, of course, I want to get your opinion first. So I would definitely love to hear your opinion on the great Nikola Jokic before we rank him amongst all the great big men that played the game.
Well, geez, you just took everything I was about to say, man. But, no, I'm just joking. But no, I think there's no doubt that Jokic was the best player to be drafted out of the second round in the NBA draft. I think there's just no question about that because, to your point, he's currently averaging 29 points, which is ranked third in the league currently, averaging 12 rebounds, that's ranked third as well, and 10 assists, that's ranked second. So the fact of the matter is that you're in the top 3 in those 3 particular categories, and you're doing it as a center. That's something that you rarely see. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not surprising to see players in the NBA today where you're seeing big men learning how to play make with their ball handling skills and being able to make plays for others and even shot creations. So of course we've seen it in back in the day with like Magic Johnson and other players, but the fact of the matter is this again, you're seeing this at the center position because normally we talk about centers that are just guys that protect the rim as far as getting rebounds, block shots, and scoring inside the paint. And you still see that today, but now it's where they're adding more versatility to their game. And I don't think nobody really saw Jokic was going to, play at this level at all. I think it almost caught a lot of people off guard. So I really didn't see it coming. But no, I think there's no question that he's a top 20 player of all time. Now, I can understand that some people may not quite have him just yet because he's still playing at a all-time high. Because to your point, he's 30 years old, and if he's continuing to play at this level, it's very possible he could get at least one more MVP award before he retires. So that gives him 4 MVP awards. And to your mention, he's a 7-time All-Star, 6-time All NBA. So I think those accolades are still going to rise. So with him being 30 and say if he retires in the next, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, he could still get more accolades. So I think it's understandable that some people may not have him in top 20 right now. But for me, I mean, if he like retires today, he's already in my top 20. So I don't know what order I would have it, but I would definitely have him in my top 20 for sure. And and really, this all started today earlier on ESPN First Take when Stephen A. Smith had Marcus Morris to come on the show and talk with him and Kendrick Perkins about if he felt like that Jokic was a top 20 player, and he highly disagreed. Now I can't remember exactly all that he said, but the fact of the matter is just like, I mean, you're saying this at the center position, and when you're doing this at a high level, the way he performs on a day-to-day basis, like you mentioned, he just had a 60-point triple double. I mean, that's just something you just never hear on a day-to-day basis. You normally hear that a player like SGA or James Harden or Russell Westbrook, something like that, Mr. Triple Doubles, stuff like that. But I mean, it's just Jokic is a rare breed at his position, so there's just no question about it. And so he's definitely one of the top centers of all time. Honestly, I would put him into the top five at the very least now. Like I said, it would still take me a minute as far as other centers that I would have. I mean, I would say guys like Will Chamberlain or Shaq definitely, but that's just to name a couple. But yeah, he's definitely a top five center at the very least. There's no question about it.
Woo! Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, man. I can see why you would say that. Again, like, it's hard, man. Okay, so obviously number one all time, without a doubt, for me is the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's like a six-time NBA champion. He has 6 rings. He's like a 6-time MVP. I think maybe 5 MVPs. He had already won a ring with the Bucks as well. Another guy who was a phenom, that came out similar to Victor Wembanyama now, and went to become an absolute legend of the game. Like I said, he has 6 rings, 6 MVPs. He's a 19-time All-Star. He's a 15-time All-NBA. It's taking me time to make sure I got this 11-time all defensive team, and of course Rookie of the Year, a scoring champion, 2 jersey retirements, 3 if you count UCLA. And UCLA also won 3 straight national championships. Of course, March Madness is going on right now. And Kareem checked that off the list a long time ago. And yeah, man, so that would be Kareem. I think he's definitely solidified as number 1. Number 2 all time is where, like, okay, I'd probably put Hakeem Olajuwon for my number 2 center of all time. He got 2 rings, and in the Michael Jordan era, of course, Michael was retired. But 2 of the losses that the Bulls took on that 72-win 10-loss team were 2 with the Houston Rockets, and in each team only placed the West team 2 times. So they beat them, that year, and who knows, they could have beat them in the playoffs that year. You never know. So I'll put Hakeem number 2. Number 3 all time in terms of centers, I'll probably put Shaq. Shaq does have an MVP. Shaq has 4 rings, 2, 1 with the Lakers, and of course, he also won some with Miami. Well, won 1 with Miami, won 3 with Los Angeles. Another person who also has 3 jersey retirements. And this is where it kind of gets kind of hard. You got 4th and 5th greatest centers of all time. Some would say David Robinson. Of course, for like maybe the 4th greatest center of all time. I do think that David Robinson doesn't get enough credit for the things he did achieve. And you have other people, people in the 70s, 80s, like Jack Sikma, stuff like that. Some people that others might not even think of when it comes to the greatest centers of all time. It's a lot, man. If you do say he's top 5, out of all those guys I mentioned, like, saying Kareem, Hakeem, Shaq, David Robinson, again, the 5th greatest center of all time, like, I'm trying to really, like, think, because it's really subjective. No matter what list of course, there's some people that are probably pulling their hair out that we have not said Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain. Matter of fact, I'll probably put Wilt at 3, and I'll move David Robinson down to 4. I mean 5. I'll put Shaq at 4. I'll put Wilt at 3, and I'll put Hakeem at 2, and I'll put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at number 1.
Oh, yeah.
So
who at 5?
5. I said Bill. I said Bill Russell. I think I just put Bill Russell at number 5 for my grade. Because like for me, it's kind of hard. I mean, he does have 11 rings, and I get it. Like people are gonna tell you playing plumbers and firefighters and stuff like that. I get it. They try to discredit the 60s and the 70s, of course. But and now having that top 5 list, if I did have to switch out Nikola with any of those, like looking up, like I think you could replace Nikola with David Robinson, like. Because David Robinson has a scoring title. Yeah, he has a ring, of course. I mean, Nikola has 4 MVPs. You feel me? Not 4. I'm not. Yes, 3 MVPs. In my mind, he has 4. But he has 3 MVPs, of course. That cannot be ignored. I think that's extremely substantial. People really try to downplay that achievement. That he really, I mean, he's done it 3 times. Like that's really like pretty absurd. And he really could have done it a 4th time. It's pretty remarkable to say that. He could easily walk away with about 5 MVPs before he retires, given that the Denver Nuggets are still a contender, even at this very moment as we record this podcast. And he's only 30 years old, of course, as we mentioned. And he's not going to slow down for a real long time. And like they'll do whatever it takes to build a team around him. I don't think he'll ever leave Denver, to be quite honest. They'll do whatever it takes to keep him. He seems like a real humble dude. They've won a championship already, so they can do it again. And I do think he will stay in Denver. But, of course, just assessing his legacy. As we've been talking about this for a minute now, of course. To say top 5, like, because of course we were assessing if he's top 20. He's definitely top 20, top 15 for sure. The 3 MVPs, and he has championship. That already puts him in rarefied air, in my opinion. Now, a top 10 center, he, in my opinion, for sure is for sure. Whether he's number 8, like 7, 6, you can't put him in like or 9 or 10 because he definitely, again, he's a 3-time MVP with a championship already and a Finals MVP as well. So, I mean, yeah, like I don't know if Wiley would like to give his 2 cents, but me personally, if I had to give him a ranking, I would probably give him like, because it's hard, man. Like it's hard. If he were to like. If he wins like 2 more rings, if he's a 3-time NBA champion with like 3, like, can I put him over Shaquille O'Neal? Like, I don't know if Nikola is better than Shaq. Like, I don't know if like, because of course Shaq was a pretty solid defender. You could put him, you could put that over Nikola, but Nikola made others better, and he could still bring home.
Are you referring to accolades or are you referring to skill set?
I guess both. I guess you could really do it in layers. Like, I guess let me ask you then, if you had to choose one off the skill set, who would you prefer, Nikola or Shaq? Keep in mind, I said Shaq. I ranked Shaq as like the 4th greatest center of all time. I put again, I might have forgot because it's so many. I put Shaq, Wilt, Hakeem, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So if Shaq
Shaq at 3.
3. Okay, thank you. Someone kept count for me. Thank you. Who did I put at 4 again? I'm sorry about that.
So you have Kareem, Hakeem, Shaq, David Robinson, and Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. Okay. Now, some people are gonna think I have Bill Russell way too low. You could put Bill Russell over David Robinson. I just thought David Robinson, like, because of course when it came to being matched up with certain like there's an infamous matchup of when he won the MVP award, they handed it to him in front of Hakeem Olajuwon, and Hakeem Olajuwon dropped him off that game. So like, there's a lot of notorious performances of David going against other all-time greats and coming up short. And of course, he didn't get over the hill until until he got that legendary power forward out of Wake Forest. So yeah, man, like. So I said Shaq was number 3. Do you like? Okay, yeah. Back to my question to you, Garrett. In terms of skill set, obviously we know that Shaq was an extremely dangerous post scorer. He broke the rim on numerous occasions, showing how the strength of him. There wasn't anyone like that was going to stop him in a one-on-one matchup, backing somebody down and getting what he wanted, whether in a fourth quarter situation. Of course, he can't shoot threes and stuff like that. And even if he got an N1, he isn't going to really catch the free throw like that. But of course, like, given his dominant play, rebounding, and getting blocks, of course, being a lob threat, extremely athletic. And like I said, it's really rare someone's going to stop him in the clutch if you need a 1 point, a dunk, anything like that. So, but of course, and we see Nikola, you damn near watch him every night. So don't really got to say much. He's a great passer, a great shooter. I would say Shaq was maybe a better defender than Nikola, more athletic, but of course Nikola can spread the floor like Shaq couldn't, and he can make his free throws and pass like Shaq couldn't. But I do think, because I mean, saying he's more dominant than Nikola, because Nikola just had 60, but Nikola wasn't playing with a Kobe who's also getting 28 points per game as well. I think in Orlando, we obviously saw what Shaq could do. But even then, he had Penny Hardaway, but we saw what he could do when he was still like the guy on a team. So my question to you is, of course, based on the skill set more so, the dominant athleticism versus the shooting and the passing, who would you have preferred over with Nikola and Shaquille O'Neal?
Well, I mean, it's kind of, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's kind of challenging to decide which one is better, because there's no question that both players play in different eras. So, and they're dominant in a different way. To your point, Shaq was dominant because he was a interior force inside the paint. He was just a very, very big body and very strong, athletic. So, he was unstoppable inside the paint. But with Jokic, I wouldn't say he is that same interior force in the middle, but he's still dominant because of his versatility. So it's kind of different. But so I guess it kind of depends on what era that you're referring to. Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I say, okay, how effective would Shaq be in this era? I think he would be very effective, but we know that Shaq, he wasn't a really good, free throw shooter at all. I don't think he was even an average free throw shooter. In terms of being able to guard the perimeter, things of that nature. So you got to take all that into consideration. But I mean, for me, it's just for the fact that we're just talking about pure skill set. I have to go with Jokic because of the fact that with his numbers, they speak on themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
that may be surprising to some people. I can see a look on your face, but
Nah, you're
but
good,
no,
man.
the fact,
Nah, like you're fine.
yeah, yeah,
Continue,
yeah, yeah.
please.
But the fact of the matter is that he's a guy that can, dominate any game. We just saw him scoring 61 points in triple double. But the fact of the matter is that not only can he do that just for himself, but he can also rebound and separate for other guys. And like I said, there's just a lot of, there are more variables to determine, okay, which player you would pick. Because for me, it's like, okay, I would pick Jokic over Shaq in terms of skill set, but then I would pick Shaq because of the skill sets that he has now, or not even now, but before then, during this prime, but also the accolades that he's had. And I'm not sure if Jokic will have him beat by that time when he retires, so it's still like an pending status. But I'm just saying, pure skill set. I just think that what he's able to do, meaning Jokic right now, is very hard to just overlook that. So, but don't get me wrong, Shaq is most definitely a top five center, of course, and some people may have him in the top three. But I'm just saying, just pure skill set. What do you do on the court to make your team better? Like I said, being able to dominate and like I said, make your teammates better. I think that's something that you
Mm-hmm.
just can't ignore. And to your point earlier, he's very efficient of doing so. So to be able to do that on a high level, and like I said, he has maybe a good another 5 or 6 years before he decides to hang it up. So we may be talking maybe one or two more MVPs possibly. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, he's never going to stop making it to the all NBAs and the All Star, accolades. So that's still going to be there. Um, so we'll see what happens by the end of his career. But yeah, in terms of skill set, I gotta give it to Jokic.
Okay. Yeah, man. I just put him up to Shaq in particular because if you beat the number 3 ranked guy that I gave the list I gave you, I don't gotta ask you about 4 and 5 about Bill Russell and David Robinson. I mean, yeah, like I could ask you, do you think he's better than Hakeem? Yeah, man. And like, hey, like we always like to say, it's a blessing having seen as much basketball that of course Wiley has. And it's a lot of legendary centers that I would have loved to have watched, of course, like I would always say I would have liked to have seen Yao Ming, the former number 1 overall pick of the 2002 NBA draft, of course. It's always one of my favorite players. Like he was a first overall pick, and he went on to actually be a Hall of Famer and a star player. I actually love the story of Yao Ming. In other legendary centers, of course, in like the 90s and the early 2000s, like Shaquille O'Neal, I never got to see Shaq in his prime like that. I didn't even get to really see him in Miami. I'm 25, but I didn't really get to start paying attention. I really know what was going on to until I was like 9 years old, 8 years old. And by that time, Shaq definitely wasn't the man that he used to be, of course. But definitely wanted to hear from Wiley. Like how we mentioned with this list that we just did. So he did put Nikola over Shaq. Therefore, he put him over Bill Russell and David Robinson. So that the other two remaining legends are Hakeem Olajuwon and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So, Wiley, I guess, where do you rank Nikola in your top 15, top 20? Or you can also go with the list as well. Do you think he's better than Shaq? Or do you think he can compete with Hakeem Olajuwon and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
I was cussing and fussing at your list over here.
No, you're okay. You're okay. It's really subjective. Like I said, it's extremely. I thought I caught most of the legendary. Like I said, there are some people thinking Bill Russell is definitely too low.
Of course.
But of course, please continue.
So of course, I didn't get to see Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Moses Malone. Moses Malone was right around. He was probably on the back end of his career after I was born. Who else? Yeah. So I have a list. So I'm just going down a list that of centers that have played that would be considered top 20. And Joker is on this list. And if I tell you where Joker is listed,
probably 17, something like that.
Actually, he's not. He's a lot higher than.
Really? Thanks.
He's a lot higher than I thought he would be. But looking at some of the names that are in front of him, and some names that are actually the names that are behind him, there's only a few that I've seen. So you mentioned Yao Ming. I got to see Yao play. Unfortunately for him, injuries is what kept him from having a longer career. Dikembe Mutombo, rest in peace to him. Got to see him play pretty much majority of his career as I grew up. Alonzo Mourning, got to see him play. You have Bill Walton on this list. I didn't get to see Bill Walton play, but looking him up, Bill Walton was that guy. You got Wes Unseld, Willis Reed, George Mikan. Again, players I didn't get to see. But then you also have Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, Hakeem, Shaq. Those players I did get to see. They have on this list, Joker is ranked number 9.
Woo, top 10, baby.
And I do have, so if he was to retire right now, I would have him in my top 10. For who was it? Marcus or Markeith? Which one was it today?
It was Marcus.
Okay, so for Marcus to say that he's not 20, real quick.
Stop the cap.
Please stop the cap. Because you couldn't name me 20. You couldn't name me 20 motherfuckers. You couldn't name me 20 motherfucking centers right now that's better than Joker. You couldn't name me 20. Hell, I couldn't even name you 20 centers that are better. I couldn't name you 20 centers, period, let alone 20 centers that are better than Joker. So, and again, to be respectful to history, again, like I said, a lot of these players I did not get to see, but of course that doesn't take away from how great they were. Like you said, Kareem definitely number 1. Bill Russell, they have Bill Russell number 2. I'm not disagreeing with that because again, I never got to see him play. Wilt Chamberlain number 3. They have Shaq at 4, and they have Hakeem at 5.
It's too low for me.
At 5.
It's the all-time leading block leader. He has 2 rings. He did it all. I think Hakeem doesn't really get like the credit.
Yeah,
And he
now,
can score too.
I-
He can
I'd
make
say-
his free throws, like everything. You
No,
know?
I don't think he gets the respect that he deserves when it comes to the NBA period, because of a lot of times it's the is it LeBron or Jordan type deal. It's never bringing into the fold of all the other players that have played this game, that have brought this game to where it is today. Especially the way the game has changed, because now in today's game, you don't have a power forward or a centers. You have guards and you have forward, or smalls and bigs. It's like they tried to take away. They're trying to make the so-called positionless basketball such a thing that it's like, no, you still have these positions for a reason. Like these.
That's why
all
it's
these
kind of
positions-
hard to like determine like who would you pick, because it's completely two different eras. So
right. But
that's like, it's like, you could say, because because that's why I say, like, for Shaq, okay, what would he like? What kind of center would he be like in this era right here?
he
You
would be
could
the
say
same.
like, yeah, he
He'd
would
be the
still be
same too.
dominant, but he's not coming out and guarding guys, out on the perimeter, things of that nature.
Young
But then with
Shaq
like
would have been
Jokic,
able to. Young Shaq would have
yeah,
been able to, because of course a lot smaller, not a lot more agile than he
yeah,
was once he got to LA. When he got to
yeah,
LA, he put on all that fucking weight, and
yeah.
he was able to. Of course, he's able to move that weight, but again, you're able to get away with that the way the positions are set up now.
I mean,
Like,
he would have some problems now. Yeah, he would have
oh
some
yeah,
difficult times here and there, but he would still be dominant. But
yeah. And again, of course, with certain rules that have changed, especially the hand checking and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
for a big man like Shaq in today's league, I don't think he wouldn't have no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Joker, yeah, I have Joker in my top 10. If he was to retire right now, like to me, he would be a top 10 center of all time. And that's no disrespect to any of these centers that came before him. Like this dude has shown us time and time again that he's a walking triple double. I continue to say this. He's a walking triple double every time he steps on the court. Doesn't matter if it's damn 10 points or 60 points like he just had. Like, he's a walking triple double, and like you said, he does make his team better.
He does it in his sleep. It's not. That's literally like a casual. That's what I'm saying, because I can't name a center that can just walk into any game and give me a triple double at center and just like do it like it's nothing.
I would say one center on the list. One center that I believe that could possibly do it if he put the effort into it. I wouldn't even say I'm talking about the ones that I've seen. Okay,
because I was gonna say Will led the league in assists at one point.
Yeah,
I'm
talking about the ones that I've seen with my own two eyes. Would be David Robinson. David Robinson was able, because he's slender. He could put the ball on the floor. He could pass. And so he's one of the few. He's one of the few that I think that could.
I just don't know. I just don't know anybody that can do it like consistently though. Like on
Right.
like.
No, I'm saying so. And also this is if he's in today's league, because rules are completely different. But even during his time, like, hell, David Robinson recorded like a quadruple double at one point in his life. So it's like, like the shit is possible. Like I feel like the shit is possible if he really set his mind to it, that he could I won't say average a triple double, but he could possibly be on the verge of getting a triple double in any game that he walks on the floor on.
Yeah, he scored like 71 on like the last game of the season to win the scoring title that year. So like he's definitely like, he was really ferocious, most definitely. Especially coming out of the Navy, where like obviously he wasn't like an 18, 19-year-old. He was a solidified 23. I think he was like David was like 24, I think, when he came over.
Yeah, because he had to serve, he had to serve his time.
Of course, and of course, always thank you for your service, which is it was really cool to see that. Not like I did, but it was really cool to see him like have a whole military career and come over to literally just transition to being an NBA superstar with like 24 and 12 a game, like his first year or something like that. It was pretty absurd.
So to help close out the topic, it's a difficult thing, like you said, Garrett. It's difficult to kind of put Joker in a slot unless you're going to consider, unless you're going to keep it at a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center position. Then yes, Joker top 10 most definitely. Now, how it just depends on how people want to control their narrative of what they think about Joker or any other player in the league and how they rank them. But yeah, Joker's he's a bad dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I again do not care what Marcus Morris says. You fucking lying through your teeth if you don't think Joker is not a top 20 all-time center. Point blank. Period.
And that's the thing too, because I think not just with me, but I'm pretty sure other people may feel the same way too. Especially for Nuggets fans, because they're seeing this, with their own eyes. Mm-hmm. But it's like, to Twan's point that he's 30 years old. And like I said before, he has because a lot of NBA players, when they retire, you're looking at them being in their mid 30s or their late 30s. So who knows when he'll actually retire. But I'm just saying, if he retires like at 35 or 36, I mean, that's why I say he could legitimately get 2 more MVPs. And of course, obviously between now and he retires, he's always going to get, being named all NBA first team or second team and, or even third, whatever the case may be. And of course, he's going to be, continue to be an all-star throughout the year. So it's just like, okay, what kind of player or like what kind of accolades would he receive once he retires? Right. So it's kind of like a gamble, but you're just anticipating because of how well he plays right now. You're kind of getting an estimate of like what kind of player he would be, by the end of his career. But we'll see what happens. So, but he's like I said, he's one of a kind.
Mm-hmm. Of course, and yeah, man, and me to close out the topic to give my last 2 seconds. I just always love talking about him. I love seeing the all-time greats in action in person like that. Like, because we, for me, of course, I was blessed to have seen LeBron James. My kids are gonna, of course, ask me about him and things of that nature. Want to give a shout out to Wiley for giving us 2 cents. Always love to appreciate his wisdom. Always love talking to him, most definitely. And please join us for our 3rd topic, Wiley, because I think you're really, really gonna enjoy giving your 2 cents on that one, of course, as well. And yeah, like I said, though, to end on Jokic, he's 30, so as of right now, the Nuggets are looking good. In terms of the standings, of course, they're still a contender right now, but the West is really, really close at the moment. They're currently 4th with a 47-30 record. Like I said, they lost to the Timberwolves last night in a razor-thin loss. So they play the Warriors tomorrow at 10 p.m. So they're just getting ready for the playoffs. We're going to see what Jokic has in him to see if he can take the Nuggets to another championship or if it'll be somewhat of an early exit. It's going to, one of these all-time greats are going to get hit out early in the playoffs, whether it's LeBron, Kevin Durant. I don't think KD's going to make the playoffs, but Nikola Jokic, Stephen Curry, like all these legends that we're witnessing, one of them might go home early in the playoffs. So, but of course, keeping it with the regular season as it is almost set to come to a close in the coming week. We were going to discuss one of the most, not controversial is the word, but most competitive awards really this season, especially amongst like the betting odds and things of that nature. So we were going to discuss who we believe will be the 2024-2025 Defensive Player of the Year. Now, it is a really, really, really tight race. I'm not going to lie. As of right now, FanDuel has Draymond Green as the favorite to take home the award. He's still Draymond, he's averaging 9 points, 6 rebounds with 6 assists a game. Obviously, the 4-time NBA champion is a future Hall of Famer. He won the Defensive Player of the Year already in his career. So it's not a surprise to see him back up at the top of the list, even at the latter half of his career. I said the latter half of Draymond's still pretty young in the grand scheme, but it's just how he looks on the floor. He looks like he's older than what he actually is, of course. And yeah, man. So with the defensive player of the year, like I said, a lot of people do think that Draymond is gonna walk away with it. Evan Mobley is right behind him at a plus 145 for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Luguentz Dort is third place with a plus 750. Jaren Jackson Jr. is sitting in fourth place. With a plus 5,000, and Dyson Daniels in fifth place with a plus 5,000. Also, want to give a shout out to SGA, who's also a mini defensive player of the year candidate himself, according to FanDuel, of course, sitting at the fifth rank with also a plus 1,500. So SGA, he is having a good defensive year. Don't let all the 30-point games fool you. The 6'6" guard, of course, and yeah, man. So obviously, like I said, it's really subjective. These are betting odds. This isn't what the league really thinks, unless they got some unforeseen information that nobody else knows, of course. I think that personally, Draymond has played good. I do think that the standings have had an impact on the defensive player of the year race. We know that Evan Mobley is currently in second place, and the Cavaliers are the first place in the Eastern Conference with a 61-15 record, having a historic season in Cleveland, if I do say so myself. We know that the Warriors are currently the fifth seed with 44-31, and they're at 7-3 in their last 10 games. So, both these teams are playoff teams. And of course, Luguentz Dort, like I mentioned, OKC's also having a great year at 64-12. So all of their records have put these players in the spotlight, if I do say so myself. It's really putting a highlight on the defensive play. It's really just showing that obviously, their play style can equate to wins, but I don't think that tells the full story in terms of individual talent all the time, And in my opinion, even just given what I mentioned, like I said, Luguentz Dort's having a really good season himself over in Oklahoma, and I do think that him being a candidate is warranted, especially given how he's improved from last season. But if I had to really cut to my pick for defensive player of the year, of course, given the numbers as well, I would give it to Dyson Daniels of the Atlanta Hawks, in my opinion. Just given the historic season he's had this year, he's had 217 steals. And, it really comes down to what do people like more in terms of defense than like blocks or steals more. I thought the only person, because Dyson's been doing this all season, I thought the only person who really could have took it from like that was Victor Wembanyama, and we know he's out for the rest of the season with a blood clot, unfortunately. Still wishing him well in his recovery for next season, of course. And I thought Victor was having a great year. He was really the only dude that was really not running away with it, but really shining with the blocks like that. He was truly incredible this year, if I do say so myself. And I think that he will only continue to get better. Victor Wembanyama, of course, averaging 24 and 11 this year before his season ended. And he was averaging almost 4 blocks a game with 3.8 per game. So he was looking awesome on the defensive side of the ball. And I thought the person who was doing that in the steals version, in my opinion, was Dyson Daniels. I thought he was looking good, of course, as you wear that hat, Garrett. But yeah, we can talk about my opinion on it a little bit later. But I would love to hear who you were going to pick for Defensive Player of the Year after listing out the candidates and why, Garrett.
Of course, I'm going to go with my boy Dyson. I'm in the same boat with you. So, there's no doubt about that. So, So right now, Polymark Sports, they have Draymond Green winning the Defensive Player of the Year with a 56.5% chance, and then followed by Evan Mobley with a 30.3% chance, and then with Dyson 5.88%. Now, I mean, to your point, these are just betting odds, so this is not what the league views each player as far as who could potentially win the award. But to your exact point, with Dyson is different because of the fact that what he's being able to do as far as averaging steals and I'm not and I will say this, I've had this conversation with multiple Hawks fans about whether or not if he's an elite defender, but that's settled for another conversation. But the fact of the matter is, it's not just about him getting steals in that category, but I feel like you have to add context to that too, because when you're getting steals, you're also creating extra possessions to score on the other side of the ball. getting a steal equates to getting stops,
Mm-hmm.
and getting steals does equate to playing tremendous defense, whether if it's on ball defense or off ball defense. So you have to take all that into account. So like I said, him being an elite defensive player, that's a different conversation. But I'm just saying it's not just him getting steals, but like I said, when you take that context into consideration, then you're getting a broader view of the kind of defensive player that he is. Now, just a day or two ago, he became the first player since Scottie Pippen in 1994-95. Neither of us was even born to have 200 plus steals and 50 plus blocks in a season. He's now one of the only 7 players to ever done that. So he's made other accolades like that, throughout the course of the season. I'm just naming a recent one just now, but I'm just saying that, and to be honest with you, in terms of politics and how things work nowadays, with the Hawks, yes, they're made to play in, woohoo, but it looks like they're going to make it as the 9th or 10th seed. I don't know. They may be able to shoot for the A spot again, but right now it's at least they'll make the play in, so at least they're locked in for that. But the league may not give Dyson Daniels the award just for that exact reason. But that's why I say Draymond and Evan Mobley could get it, because those are top 5 teams in both of their conferences. But I'm just saying, regardless of that, I think just Dyson's historic season as a defensive player, I think that's just hard to ignore. Now, I would say my prediction is that I think that he will be a finalist. I think that he'll be a finalist into the top 3. And like I said, I'm hoping that he does win it. I think he has all the evidence to say that he should deserve it. But even to his point, he had an interview with Mike Scotto, who is a reporter or insider rather, for Hoops Hype, and he said, like, the Defensive Player of the Year award is a big man's award. So so the league could keep it traditional this year, where they could give it to a guy like Draymond or Evan Mobley or Jaren Jackson Jr., but they could also go towards being more on the unique rare side, where they could give it to a guard like Dyson, because the last guard to win it was Marcus Smart, right, in Boston. So they could go that route. But like I said, regardless, I think it should be Dyson. It's just the fact of the matter is that he's just been extraordinary defensively, and a lot of people have given him props. And I remember when he first got traded to Atlanta, people were already on the go saying, "Hey, this is a guy that could turn out to be a very special player on the defensive end of the ball," and he's starting to pick things up offensively with his jump shot. Is starting to become more consistent. He's shooting 34% from 3 right now. I think he's averaging a little over 3 point attempts per game, somewhere in there. But yeah, I think that just the fact of the matter is he's just been excellent throughout the entire season, and it's just something you just can't ignore. And he's really, and to be honest with you, is we can go back now and look at clutch defensive stats that he's gotten this year. 2 of them that I can remember was when we got the win on the road against Sacramento, when he came up with the big steal against De'Aaron Fox. And if you want to go more recent, I believe it was last month when we beat Memphis on the road, when he got that clutch steal against Desmond Bane and threw I think it was like a full court pass to Karis LeVert for the layup for the game winner. So it's just stuff like that he's just been able to do. So, but yeah, I hope that he wins it. But like I said, my prediction that he will be a finalist and that he will at least make NBA All Defensive First Team.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's definitely a lock in my opinion. It's really remarkable, because if you go back to the media day press conferences at the beginning of the season, he did say that was his number 1 goal for him this year.
Yep.
That he did want to be the he wanted to be the shooting guard of the all defensive first team, and to see him actually accomplish that all these months later, like, that really shows you can really, of course, he was already a stellar talent coming out of Australia in G League Ignite, being the 8th pick of the 2022 NBA draft. So the scouts already liked what he could accomplish, or what he was capable of, more so. But to see him really take this next step like that, it's honestly crazy to see like the improvement this rapidly. I thought he was showing the 3-point improvement during the Olympics when he was representing Team Australia alongside Josh Giddey, of course, his countryman, and I thought he was looking good back then. As soon as we knew he was coming to Atlanta, I started watching all the film, and that was our first real inkling of him was in the Olympics, just seeing what he could do on the floor, and I thought he was looking good even over in Paris during the summertime. So yeah, man. And even then he is getting the recognition, at least according to FanDuel. He's the actual minus 230 favorite to walk home with the most improved player this year. And to me, that gives the award justice, not sounding biased or anything, but I feel like Cade Cunningham was destined, because of course Cade is the second favorite to win it as a plus 150 underdog. So he's right behind Dyson, but Dyson's an actual minus favorite, minus 230, like I said. And everyone knew Cade was destined to become a superstar, an all NBA caliber point guard. And I think he's just developing as he should this year, you know. He's gotten his team for the playoffs. That's the thing. Like, they're the most improved team this year for sure. That we also discussed on one of our prior episodes. But I think the most improved player this year, in my opinion, is Dyson Daniels. Just increasing his scoring from like 5.8 points per game to 14 this year. His rebounds are up, his steals, like he's leading the league right now. This showed all he ever needed was the opportunity. I know that the New Orleans Pelicans, to me, that trade now was literally just DeJounte Murray for Dyson Daniels, and it 100% was beneficial for both teams. I still think that DeJounte is going to be good for the Pelicans as their point guard for the future at still a young age.
I do have kind of breaking news.
Please.
I know that the Sixers, they are a very, very bad team all year because their big three is out for the rest of the season with PG and Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. But Giannis, they put up crazy numbers. So they beat Philly tonight 126-113. But Giannis ended tonight with 35 points, 17 rebounds, and 20 assists. I mean, like I said, Philly, they are a very bad team, but still, those numbers are just crazy. But you continue. I just wanted to say that.
Oh no, man, that was astronomical. That's pretty ridiculous, you know.
Yeah.
Not even trying to toot our own horns or anything. It kind of reminds me of the game when the Hawks played the Lakers and Trey had 31 points and 20 assists himself, you know. So yeah, man, superstar numbers most definitely. If he could have got like the 20 rebounds, that would have been crazy. I think crazy to see a 30-20-20. I remember when Kevin Love had a 30-30 game during the 2010 season. I was in the 5th grade when he did that. It was pretty crazy to see. Shout out to K Love, the future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Since we're talking about big men tonight, of course. And yeah, man. Like I said, I do think that Dyson will walk away with the most improved player this year. I think he's really announced himself as a star candidate, as an Atlanta Hawks fan, but of course also as an unbiased journalist always. I do think that the Hawks, the main priority for them is 100% get that contract extension as fast as they can. They can't offer it until the next summer, 2026, and he's gonna have a lot of suitors. You know, he's making I think around $11 million per year on his next 2 years on his contract. So I do think that given his talents, for sure, he's definitely going to command upwards to, like, we just saw Jalen Johnson get $150 million from Atlanta. So I think Dyson can at least get $100 to $125 million, in my opinion, just based on what he can achieve. And I do want to make a slight correction. He's making $6 million this year and $7 million next year. He'll be a restricted free agent going into the 26-27 season. So they have to do whatever they can to make sure they sign him. And just being quite honest, I think he'll stay, to be real. I think that seeing the opportunity he got here, of course, knowing what he's capable of now, he could take anyone's starting spot across the league if he wanted to. But I think his spot is super solidified down here in Atlanta, and I think he enjoys playing with his teammates as well. I think he enjoys playing with Jalen Johnson and Zachary Risachet. What I can't say what they've built, but what they are building at the moment. I think they all see each other as being on the same development timeline, and I think that they can all create something special. They'll truly be one of the best rosters the Atlanta Hawks in history I've ever had, given that the point guard's already leading the league in assists, the shooting guard's leading the league in steals, the power forward, Jalen Johnson, was almost the most improved player candidate himself before he got hurt. Onyeka Okongwu's averaging 15 points and 11 rebounds throughout the month of March. So, I think that Dyson was the missing piece they've been missing. Even Bogdanovich, when he was still here, mentioned that he was the catalyst for improving their defense as a team this year. So at 22 years old, he's only going to continue to get better. And he's definitely worth a 5-year max. And the Hawks have to do whatever it takes to make sure he stays, because money talks, absolutely. But I think Dyson might stay, man, because he's already making a lot of money off the court. We just signed him to get that new a deal with Adidas. Absolutely. He just got a new shoe contract. And we know he's successful off the court with his brand Vucetti as well. So I think that he's making a lot of money
right now.
Of course.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And I think that he's making a lot of money off the floor. So all they got to do is come with a decent number, maybe 80 million, 90 million, something like that shows his worth. And given the chemistry they built, I'd be pretty shocked if I'm sitting somewhere and I see the Dyson Daniels sign with the Phoenix Suns or something like that. I'd be pretty taken aback if he left, given how he became a star over here. And this is really his spot. No one's taking the starting shooting guard spot. It's all his.
I think he'll stay. I think now with the contract negotiations, that's kind of the barrier there. But I mean, it may be where it may go down to the wire, where they may take it to restricted free agency, where it's like, okay, if somebody gives them an offer sheet, then we'll match it though. But I think they're gonna try to avoid that. I think they're going to meet somewhere down in the middle. Same with Jalen Johnson, where they didn't take it to restricted free agency. Now, I don't know if he's going to get 30 million. Now, I guess it all depends if he actually wins most improved player, which I think he will. And then, of course, making it to all NBA defensive first team. So when you take all those accolades into consideration, of course, those are one of the talking points that his agent is going to make during those negotiations. So, but yeah, I think I don't think he'll get 30 million, but I think that he'll honestly he'll be making somewhere around in the 20s. Now, whether if it's a 4 or 5 year deal, I think he'll be somewhere around in the 20s, between 20 and 25 million a year or so. But yeah, I think he'll be back. So I'm not worried about that.
Of course. Hey, man, I'm extremely hopeful. I agree with you. Of course, he has 2 agents, Daniel Moldovan and Alex Saratsis. So they're going to do whatever they can to make sure their client gets that payday that he's definitely going to be worth, entering the middle point of when he'll turn into that prime star. And I think he definitely has 2-way star potential, given that his scoring is getting better and he's already a defensive player. And the last thing I will say, of course, move on to our last topic. This is the Hawks podcast, of course. I think that the players are going to tug on the heartstrings. I think Trey's going to pull him to the side, talk to him about, hey, man, Trey hasn't had a better backcourt mate since he's been down here.
There's no question.
Like to fit him alongside him like that. He finally has that 6'7". You go from the lineup goes from a 6'1" point guard to a 6'7" shooting guard. Like you finally have that guy who and they know each other. They really linked up really fast. We saw them doing OTAs last offseason pretty quick. So they've been building this chemistry for a pretty long time now. And I do think that they're gonna tug on the heartstrings. Zachary Resache, they came in the same offseason. They came in the same first practices together, all that. I think they're gonna talk to each other. They're both an international prospects, so they do have that to relate. And just that alone, I think, Jalen Johnson, and they also have good chemistry as well when you see them talk to each other on the floor. So I think the players are going to tug on the heartstrings. The Hawks themselves, all the ones that are staying here for the long term, know that, Dyson, please stay. They want him to stay. They're going to have a meeting about it. Onyeka's here for the long term. Jalen's here for the long term. I think Zachary will sign that rookie extension. Trey has, including this year, he has 3 years left. So he has 1 and then 2 more after this. So negotiations are coming. And if they can bag Dyson, they would have built the fortress that, okay, Trey, because it would have took his whole contract from the rookie scale extension, all of that, to finally build the team needed for him. And now, do you want to sign the max or do you not? Of course, that's a whole discussion for another day to have on this podcast, most definitely. But moving to our last topic, absolutely. Like I said, Wiley, you can feel free to chime in on this one 100%. Speaking of point guards, we wanted to discuss is Stephen Curry not one of course, we already know that. Is he the greatest point guard to ever pick up a basketball in the history of the sport? You can go first, Garrett. I would love to hear what you have to say first about Stephen Curry and his legacy, the 4-time NBA champion and the 2-time MVP.
Yeah, so we all know Steph was drafted in the 2009 draft, picked 7th overall. Currently, he's a 4-time champion, a Finals MVP when they won in 2022, not too long ago. He's a 2-time MVP and an 11-time All-Star. Now, it's kind of now I'm not. It's not kind of the same uh aspect or situation when we talked about Jokic as a top 20 player in terms of players that we have not seen or may have seen. So now behind Steph, I do have Magic Johnson. Now, here's where I'm going with this. Now, he was picked first overall back in 1979,
79.
6'9", 5-time champion, 3-time NBA Finals MVP, 3-time MVP, and a 12-time All-Star. Now, I feel like that it's interchangeable because people can say Magic is the best point guard of all time, but then people can say Steph. But to me, I think that for me, I would have to go with Steph only because that I feel like, and I'm not just talking accolades, but it's more so of how he changed the game. Because when during that year when he won, or even before then, but certainly the first year when they won their first championship in 2015, that's when the league really changed to where the whole league and follow Steph's footsteps because of his three point shot. We all know he's the best 3-point shooter of all time. And I don't think that there's going to be a player that's going to break his record. I mean, it's kind of like the whole LeBron situation. I mean, he's the all-time leading scorer, and that record was held for what, 40 years, somewhere in there, or even more
A
than that.
long
I
time.
don't know. Yeah,
Very long
so
time.
it's like, okay, if somebody's going to do the same for Steph, then that's how long it's going to be before someone breaks that record. So it's just, for me, I just think Steph is the best point guard of all time because of how he literally changed the game. And I think now he may not he may not change the game completely to where it is now, but you can say that he has changed the game in terms of teams now changing their philosophies and their play style to where it's dealing with more versatility and being able to shoot, because that's how the game is played. Players being able to shoot, pass, and dribble. So and shooting is a premium in this league. Now, I would say for Magic Johnson, and I don't know, maybe you could chime in on this one, and Wiley can do the same. But I think for Magic, I think that he cleared a pathway of some sort to a degree, or at least one of the few that players may thought of, like having this I wouldn't call it a dream, but idea of where you're opening the door for big men to basically being able to bring the versatility that he did during his days. I mean, one
Mhm.
of the seasons that he averaged 24 points and 12 assists and 6 rebounds, right? And you're doing it at 6'9", 6'10". So, like I said, with Joker, you don't really see many big men putting up those kinds of that kind of production on a day-to-day basis. So I think that Magic paved the way for some big men to really embrace their skill sets and be able to have the idea of just putting in the work to where they can beat you in any spot on the court. But I think for Steph, it's just the fact of the matter is that he's the best shooter of all time. Of course, he has the accolades to prove it. And like I said, just the fact of the matter is just for me to see with my own eyes that he was able to change the entire league throughout his career. And there's not really many point guards that there's really not any point guards really that can really say the same thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, there are other great point guards that played in this league before, but I mean, with Steph, I mean, to compare Steph to other guys, it's just like, it's just hard. It's hard to tell. So, but yeah, I have Steph as number one, then I have Magic number two.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's so funny. It's kind of perfect in a way, kind of poetic. Mine is literally reversed. I got Magic Johnson as the greatest point guard to ever pick up a basketball. I love Magic Johnson. My favorite player ever is Pete Maravich. Not because he's a Hawk, of course. That's a massive bonus. I love Pete Maravich for his collegiate career, leading the NCAA in total scoring with no 3-point line. Before Caitlin Clark, of course, just broke his record not too long ago. And but yeah, that's my favorite player. Of course, mentioning another point guard, of course, Pete Maravich. But for me, I do think Magic Johnson is the greatest point guard of all time. Only because, like, for him to be the first overall pick, like, and some doubted him. You know, he was doubted a lot by some. You know, some people thought his game might have transcended, given he was too tall to dribble. Some thought it would have led to a lot of turnovers when he first graced the floor. I thought he was good coming out the gate. Of course, I didn't get to see him. He was drafted 20 years before I was born. You feel me? So, but he did great in college. You know, when he won the NCAA national championship with the Michigan State Spartans, of course. And he beat Larry Bird to win that championship. That actually did happen. It really was a part of their story. It's pretty crazy to even go back that far. And he was phenomenal his entire career. Just for his career, he does average 19.7 rebounds and 11 assists per game for his career. We also like to tell people to keep in mind his career was cut short, man. Like, it was cut short, man. I don't want to mention the reasons why. We all know why Magic Johnson's career was cut short. There's no reason to rehash that. But he lost 4 years. Like, he was 31 years old when he had to retire back in 1991 due to an illness, unfortunately. And the Lakers that season, they finished 58-24 under Mike Dunleavy, so they were still a good team, and he was still a good player. Like, he was still averaging 19 points with 12 assists and 7 rebounds. So I always thought Magic, like, it's just his career got cut short, unfortunately. Like, it was really unfortunate to see, like, you know, one of the greatest players ever, you know, his vices, ended up being his comeuppance, unfortunately. And but given what he achieved on the floor, and that's another thing, he did this by the age of 31. And how we just talked about Jokic, Magic won a ring his first year in the league. He was a winner literally from day one. He has 5 rings, 3 finals MVPs. I know Steph just got one back in 2022. He's a 3-time MVP, 12-time All-Star, 9-time first-team All-NBA. He led the league in assists 4 times, steals twice. So Magic could play defense as well. And yeah, like I said, he was a winner in college too. So he was a winner at all 3 levels. He's amazing in high school. For those that don't know, he was terrific in high school. And yeah, so I just think for Magic, like the reason, like, him doing all of that from just 1979 to 1991, because like I said, he won a ring his first year, to all the way to 1988 where he won his last ring. And they could have won a ring in 91. They were still a good team, like I said, under Mike Dunleavy. So in my opinion, I'll forever have Magic Johnson as the greatest point guard of all time. He's always been my number one. I love Stephen Curry. I got to see him versus just reading up a lot on Magic Johnson, watching all the documentaries, of course. I got to see Steph's legend. I got to see when he got eliminated by the San Antonio Spurs in 2014, when the Spurs went on to win a ring that year, and he came back the next season to win their first championship with a homegrown drafted team with Klay Thompson, Draymond Draymond Green, Andrew Bogut was on that team. Like I saw Steph's entire legend come, and now it's about to end in a few years. Of course, he just had 52 points the other night, so it's not like he hasn't missed a step. He has not missed a step at all, you know. But I just think with Magic's just his accolades, like just everything he did in a short period of time. And also he was a winner from day one as well. He came in and took over a team that had Kareem on it pretty quick. Of course, he did go on to get James Worthy. In the 1982 draft, James came in, so he did have his help as well, like every champion needs. But individually, I'll forever have Magic Johnson, only because I thought he could score at a high level like Stephen could too. Of course, like with Stephen, the 3-point shooting, like Garrett said, like it did entirely shift the entire landscape of the NBA. You could really say Stephen Curry had his own era, to be quite honest, because even though he didn't win the 2 rings to follow it up, he did win 2 MVPs to still be one of the most dominant players in the league at that time that couldn't dunk or anything. But he can make a shot literally from anywhere. And the last thing I'll say about Magic Johnson was that I loved his versatility as well. I think it was I forgot which finals it was. It might have been the first one. It was like a game 7. He played all positions. Like he played the center position when he was mainly a point guard at 6'9". So the fact he could play literally guard and play multiple positions as well, I just thought it made him not only a one-of-a-kind point guard, but also a one-of-a-kind player as well, given his ability to score and rebound and play make and defend. So I just thought, like, in his leadership as well. Of course, Steph's a leader, but like I said, Magic came in and almost not took the team over in day one. He had to gain respect, but he took it over pretty quickly when he saw what he was capable of. So shout out to the boy Dixon. Thank you so much for joining us, man. Absolutely. Always love having you. Most definitely, for sure. And yeah, Wiley, of course, saw you pop in. So I would love to hear what you have to say. Garrett picked Stephen Wardell Curry, and I picked Irving Magic Johnson. So I would love to hear who you have for your tiebreaker. You might have another point guard. You might have a John Stockton. You might have a Chris Paul. You might have one of those dudes. So I mean, I'm just saying. So go ahead and give us your pick for the greatest point guard of all time. Oh, you're muted, Wiley.
Don't make me cuss you out on our lovely on this family show. Damn, John Stockton, Chris Paul.
I mean, hey. Of course, before you go, John Stockton is the all-time assistant, like all-time assistant with 15,860.
That record's gonna stand forever.
In the all-time steals leader as well. So, of course, John Stockton, Chris Paul, CP3, he has everything but an MVP in a ring, of course. So, shout out to Chris Paul.
Well,
but of course, you said dirty player. You think so?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. Well, damn, we could get into that a little later. I actually want to, but
Chris Paul.
But yes,
yeah. I mean, hey,
that dates back to his Wake Forest days.
Oh, okay.
For real? I mean, damn. I mean, either way, of course,
that's
still a legend.
To his Wake Forest days. Look, don't get me started on Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Lynette Woodard would like to have a word when it comes to the most points in college basketball.
Oh, okay.
But I digress. I got Steph. I love Magic. Got to watch Magic as a youngster. Later in his career, of course, being able to see him on the original Dream Team, being able to watch him after getting HIV and dealing with that, being able to come back, still play a season, and end his career. Although when that did happen, he was on that back half of his career. You got to kind of shine light on that, because when you think about it, during that time frame, once you got into your 30s, you were definitely on the downslope of your career. And when you look at Magic's numbers, it doesn't necessarily say that, but again, we know why everything ended the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
With Steph, Steph still has his pen. He's still writing his career as we speak. And I think that's the one thing that's the dopest part about it, is that he's getting to continue to add on to his legacy, just like LeBron, just like KD, just like a lot of the older players in the league now that, you know, are pretty much close to being out the door. And of course, you know, people will say, well, he's not a traditional point guard. So what? That's fine. Magic, to me, Magic wasn't your necessary. He was a traditional point guard. He just didn't look like your traditional point guard.
Back then, though, he was ahead of his time.
He stood 6'8" and could play every fucking position on the floor. So, and we got to see that his rookie year. So again, like we talked about it with Joker, it's the same thing with Steph. Like it depends on who's giving their take and how they want to shape their narrative of what their list is. But again, for me, I have Steph as being the greatest point guard there is, just on the strength of what he's been able to do over the years. But not only that, like, we didn't think Steph was going to be what he is today. Especially not only just coming out of Davidson, but the way his career started. Like, you know, he was considered injury prone. Hence the reason why Golden State was able to piece that team together that they had, because they signed him on a cheap extension. So that gave them enough money to start putting that team together, and they did it organically, which made it even better when they ended up being able to draft Clay and Draymond, and then you add in your other pieces, and it worked. And it ended up working after, you know, I thought it was going to work with Mark Jackson. We saw it kind of transpiring, and then they get rid of Mark and bring in Steve, and, you know, the rest is history. But and also, it's not to overlook any of the other point guards that have been in the league, like we mentioned. John Stockton, by far the best assist man ever, and like you said, and steals. Who else we got? Oscar Robinson, the original Mr. Triple Double. Isaiah Thomas, the logo Jerry West. We mentioned Chris Paul. Again, I call him a dirty player, but still, like, when it comes to his legacy, like, Chris Paul is a top 10 point guard of all time. Jason Kidd,
Steve Nash, two-time MVP.
Throw Russell Westbrook in there with what he's been able to do.
I agree.
Gary Payton. Again,
GP.
you have so many point guards that have come through the league, that have been able to make their mark, put their stamp on the league in one way or another. And that's what's been the best part about it. That's what's been the best part about it when it comes to the NBA, and you start to dissect per position. We got Dixon here. Magic is my GOAT PG as an old head. Shout out to us old heads. But Steph is really close, in my opinion. I just feel Steph is more of a shooting PG. Yeah, more than a true PG. Yeah, no, absolutely. Magic was the first point forward, to be honest.
Yep.
Play point
even
guard,
to this day.
That's a good point. No, that's a good point, Larry.
Yeah, that's a perfect point. Because you don't get, like you said, when it comes to a power forward, you don't get LeBron or Scotty, or, you know, your other, Kevin Garnett at one point was able to be what considered a point forward, because he could dribble, you know, because he could put the ball on the floor, and with point guard like skills. Like you had those point forwards that have come through the league. And yes, that's all due to Magic.
That's why I mentioned earlier, like big man. To Larry's point, just to put it better, point forwards. You're seeing it with guys like, LeBron and KG that you mentioned, or someone you mentioned now, like Jalen Johnson on the Hawks. He's more of a point forward, just to give, fresher name. But yeah, so that's why I think Magic, I think he paved the way for some big men to have that kind of skill set at their size. So yeah, that's definitely a better way to put it for that, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nah, I 100%. Like even I mean, like of course with Magic with homie right here, I definitely agree with Larry for sure. Yeah, like that's just my take on it. Like I said, his 11.2 assists for his career is still the all-time record even right now. So I get it. He didn't become the all-time assist leader like John Stockton, but you could definitely make the case he's still one of the greatest passers. Well, you can make that off the rep already, but just the stats definitely back it up. Even with his career being cut short, averaging 11.2 for his career. That's over 10 assists. That's pretty substantial. Even John Stockton himself didn't average 11.2 for his career.
No, so, John was just he was just consistent. He had a consistent partner. Like that pick and roll with Karl Malone.
Great shooter too, though. Great shooter, clutch shooter.
But I'm saying that pick and roll with Karl Malone was unstoppable because of the fact that Karl Malone had that mid-range jumper. So you had to figure out how to play Karl Malone. Do you want to play him for the jumper or do you want to play him to take it to the basket? And again, with him being 6'8" and as big as he was, good luck.
Exactly. Yeah, nah, for sure, man. Like again, even just to get my final 2 cents on it, most definitely, Trae Young is having a Hall of Fame pure point guard career, and I really think Hawks fans would appreciate it because they get frustrated with our losing, and that's why I just mentioned earlier that I think Dyson Daniels was literally the last piece because they got the bench now with Karis LeVert, George Niang, and Terrence Mann all on good goal. Karis LeVert does have 1 year left remaining this year, but he did come out and say he would like to resign to the Hawks, and George Niang is also already on a deal. And Terrence Mann has 3 years on his new contract. So as long as we re-sign Karis LeVert, the Hawks have their bench and they got their starting 5 ready to go. For the future, it would seem, Karis LeVert's still young at 30. Terrence Mann is 28. George Niang is, I think, George 30 himself. So, and obviously their core is getting better and better. Zachary Sachet is averaging like 17.7 points per game over his last 10 games. He's playing really good. He struggled his last 2 performances, but the game before those last 2, he got 36 points, of course. So he has shown flashes of absolute greatness, and when he is consistent, he'll be maybe the number 2 option for the Hawks. He might surpass Jalen Johnson, become the number 2 option, or become a solid number 3 option. But of course, like Larry said, I do think that that the Hawks fans have unappreciated him, and I think that with this new supporting cast now around Trae Young, you need a certain particular core around a 6'1" point guard if he's going to be your head of the snake, so to speak. And he does what is needed to succeed as a 6'1" point guard, prioritizing the playmaking, at least nowadays, more than his scoring and stuff like that. Sometimes his playmaking, his scoring will just come out with the playmaking and stuff. But either way, I got one
more thing.
Please.
Steph would have done fine in the 90s. C. Mark Price, C. Muggsy Bogues, Spud Webb, C. Michael Adams, C. John Stockton. Any fucking point guard that was 6'1", 6'2", and average at least 17. Steph would have been just fine. Okay, I digress.
Oh no, for sure. Like I think his jump shot alone definitely put him in a different conversation. He still does it to this day. It's good. We just saw him in the Olympics bring home the United States a gold medal off that 3-point shot. He was the guy hitting the clutch shots in the closing. He even had LeBron doing the night. So yeah, for sure. But yeah, just to close it though, I did pick Magic Johnson as the greatest point guard in NBA history, basketball history, EuroLeague included, everything. The best point guard to ever pick up the ball, coming straight out of Michigan, most definitely. And yeah, Garrett and Wiley both picked Stephen Curry, so I do lose the count 2-1, of course. But you know, it's all subjective as always. Two future Hall of Famers, I love watching both. You know, I always love watching the Lakers and stuff. Trying to watch the Winning Time HBO special they got. Watching that right now, it's really funny. And yeah, of course, I agree with Larry and Wiley. Of course, Steph could play in any generation that he wanted to, and definitely succeed for sure. Just given the jump shot alone. But yeah, Garrett, that's it for me on this episode of the Uncommon Commentators. Unless you got anything else you want to add, for sure.
Yeah, thank you all as usual for chiming in and tuning in and hanging out with us. We really do appreciate you guys, your love, your time and support, and we would not be doing this without you guys. So thank you again so much.
Thank y'all so much for joining us on the Uncommon Commentators. I want to give the shout outs again to the boy Wiley for always doing a great job with the takes and being a good producer. It's hard to do both. Absolutely. Shout out to Jay Holloway, Raina Holloway, the lovely couple. Shout out to everyone on the SXC Media Network. Y'all already know how it is with the family. Always love doing this show every Thursday night. Most definitely. Shout out to everyone, Olivia, Nick Andre, everyone that we know that we also, you know, are in contact with all the time, basically. So hope y'all just stay safe. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy the March Madness. Pretty sure the Final Four is going on this weekend. So go ahead, sit back and relax and watch some basketball. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna do. You know, and one last thing, the Lakers and the Warriors are playing right now. It's just started on the late night matchup, so we know we don't have many more matchups of Stephen Curry and LeBron James facing off against each other, and they have added Luka Doncic and Jimmy Butler into the fray. So go ahead and catch that matchup. I'm about to go do the same thing, and y'all have a blessed weekend, blessed night. Thank you so much for joining us as always.